The wind howled across the cracked asphalt of a forgotten highway, carrying with it the whispers of broken dreams and abandoned promises. At the edge of nowhere stood a rusted, vine-choked gas station, its pumps frozen in time, its sign barely hanging on. And standing before it was a man whose life looked as shattered as the building itself. His shoulders carried the invisible weight of war, his eyes clouded with memories that refused to fade. He had come home a veteran, but not a hero. He came home with scars no one could see, with nights filled with silence broken only by the screams in his head. And now, life had handed him one last reminder of his emptiness. An inheritance he never asked for. An old, crumbling gas station that smelled of oil, dust, and failure. If you're watching this right now and believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected miracles, please take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Loyal Hearts. Stories like this remind us that even in the darkest corners, light can still break through. He stood there staring at the station, his fists tightening and loosening, trying to breathe in the heavy silence. All he saw was another burden, another reminder that he had nothing and no one left. But then, a sound broke the emptiness. A faint whimper, rough yet hopeful. From behind a pile of old crates near the station, a dog emerged, its ribs pressed against its fur, its eyes weary yet glimmering with trust. The stray walked cautiously toward him, its tail low but wagging as though it recognized something broken in the man's soul that mirrored its own. The veteran, hardened by years of loss, didn't know what to do. He never planned on taking care of anything again. But the dog sat down at his feet as if it had already decided. This was home, and this was its person. Days turned into weeks. The man and the dog settled into a quiet rhythm. The gas station became a shelter not of hope, but of survival. He repaired broken windows with scrap wood, swept the dust from the floor, and fixed what little he could, though his heart remained numb. The dog, however, seemed determined to bring life into the ruins. It barked at the morning sun, chased the wind through the cracked pavement, and pressed its head against the veteran's knee whenever his hands trembled with the memories of war. Slowly, the silence began to feel less heavy. Slowly, he began to breathe again. But survival wasn't easy. The old station made no money. His savings drained quickly, and every night he wondered if he would wake to nothing left but debt and despair. The nearby town saw him as another broken soul hiding from the world, another man who had nothing to offer. Yet through it all, the dog stayed, loyal, watchful, almost as if it was waiting for something. Then came the day everything changed. It started like any other, sunlight pressing through cracked glass, the wind rattling the metal roof. The dog, restless that morning, barked wildly at the back of the station. At first he ignored it, assuming it had found another rabbit to chase. But the barking grew frantic, urgent. The veteran followed, watching as the dog clawed at the overgrown vines and dirt near the foundation. Curiosity overtook exhaustion, and he grabbed an old shovel, helping the dog dig. Hours passed, sweat pouring down his face, until the shovel struck something solid. Metal cold, unyielding, and buried deep. Heart pounding, he cleared away the dirt. What emerged was not junk, but a steel hatch sealed shut with rust. The veteran's hands trembled as he forced it open, the creak of metal echoing like a cry from the past. Inside was a narrow staircase leading into darkness. He hesitated, his breath shallow. But the dog went first, tail wagging, urging him forward. And so, together, they descended into the forgotten depths beneath the station. What they found defied every expectation. A hidden chamber stretched beneath the station, filled with old crates, documents, and rows of locked safes. The air was thick with dust, but the faint gleam of gold bars stacked in corners was unmistakable. Paintings wrapped in canvas leaned against the walls, their edges hinting at priceless art. Bundles of cash untouched for decades lay stacked like forgotten relics of another world. Confusion, disbelief, and fear battled within him. But the more he uncovered, the more the truth revealed itself. This was no ordinary inheritance. This was a hidden fortune, a treasure worth more than he could imagine. Later, as he pieced together the documents, he realized it was valued at nearly 200 million. But it wasn't just the wealth that stunned him. It was the story behind it. The station had once belonged to an old war buddy of his late uncle, a man who had secretly hidden his wealth from corrupt partners and entrusted the property to family bloodlines. Generations passed, but the secret remained untouched until a broken veteran and a stray dog uncovered it. Yet, even with riches at his feet, the veteran didn't feel triumph. He felt something greater, purpose. For the first time in years, he saw not just what life had taken, but what it could give. He invested the money back into the forgotten town, restoring homes, rebuilding businesses, and creating shelters for veterans who had walked the same lonely road he once did. The gas station became more than an old ruin. It became a beacon of hope, a place where people came not for fuel, but for second chances. And by his side always was the dog who had led him to it all, his loyal companion, his savior, his reason to keep going. The veteran had inherited more than a gas station and a stray dog. He had inherited a reminder that even broken lives can find healing. Even lost souls can find home, and sometimes the smallest companions uncover the greatest treasures. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Loyal Hearts. Every story we tell carries the hope of inspiring kindness, courage, and belief in miracles. Before we end, I want to ask you this. What would you have done if you were the one who uncovered that 200 million secret? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read them. And so, in the quiet hum of the open road, under the endless stretch of sky, a broken veteran and his loyal dog stood no longer in the shadows of their past, but in the light of a future worth living for.